Have you ever spent 3 years on a college major you suddenly realize you hate? Or maybe you're 5 years deep in a job that makes you miserable, but you stick with it. You tell yourself, I've come this far. I've already invested so much time. I can't just quit now. Congratulations. You've just built your own personal Maginot Line. Now imagine doing that. But instead of your own future, it's the future of an entire country. And instead of your time, it's the modern equivalent of billions of dollars. Imagine building the most advanced, high-tech, impenetrable fortress in human history. Only for the enemy to just walk around it. This is the story of the Maginot Line, the single greatest act of fighting the last war ever attempted and a multi-billion-dollar monument to a very human, very dangerous idea. The sunk cost fallacy.
So basically, France built the most expensive security blanket?
Exactly. And it worked great, right up until it didn't. Today, we're not just talking military history. We're talking about how smart people, whole nations, trap themselves in old logic. Because the Maginot Line isn't just a wall, it's a mindset.
Yeah, it's like keeping a subscription or gym membership you don't use because canceling feels like defeat.
By the end, you'll see why a French fortress from the 1930s explains how we handle change, risk, and pride today. It's 1930. France is still traumatized by World War I. Millions dead, cities leveled, and an entire generation lost. So the country collectively says, no. They pour their grief and 10 billion modern dollars into a 450-mile concrete shield along the German border. Bunkers with air conditioning, underground railways, retractable turrets. It's the architectural equivalent of a weighted blanket.
Fort Knox meets a basement man cave.
They call it the Maginot Line, named after Defense Minister André Maginot, a man who sold security like a televangelist sells hope.
France is safe forever behind her mighty fortress.
Yeah, about that. French generals assumed the next war would look like the last one, trench warfare. That's the voice of past trauma whispering, what hurt you once will hurt you again.
And then came the voice of sunk cost. We've spent billions. This thing has to work. Look at the turrets. They retract.
Together, those voices built the deadliest duo in human history. Denial and budget approval. Meanwhile, in Germany, a strategist looks at the blueprints and says, this wall is magnificent, but what if we just drive around it? They go through the Ardennes, a forest France considered impassable. The Maginot Line doesn't fall, it just gets skipped.
Yeah, basically the Germans hit avoid tolls on Google Maps and were in Paris by brunch.
The fortress didn't fail because of bad engineering. It failed because it solved the wrong problem.
That's the part that hurts. How often do we do that to ourselves?
Exactly. We build walls around yesterday and then wonder why the future keeps finding a detour. The Maginot Line wasn't about strategy. It was about fear. France wasn't defending its border. It was defending its trauma. We do the same thing after hurt. We call it boundaries, but sometimes it's just fear with a fresh coat of paint.
Right, like when someone says, I don't date anyone under 6'2". That's not a boundary. That's a Maginot Line with dating apps.
Exactly. Fear builds quickly. Wisdom takes time to survey the terrain. Even when France saw the flaws, they couldn't stop. Too much money, too much ego. We do that too. Stay in the wrong major, the wrong marriage, the wrong opinion, because we've invested too much to quit.
It's like still paying for a gym membership just so you can say you work out financially.
Exactly. Sunk cost is a beautiful liar. It tells you that pain deserves a payoff, when really it just wants company. When the Germans bypassed the Maginot Line, they didn't just outflank France, they outadapted it. The world had moved to tanks and speed while France was still perfecting trenches. We do the same thing in life. We keep renovating our bunkers instead of learning to move.
Yeah, upgrading your Wi-Fi won't fix your fear of logging off.
Progress isn't about thicker walls. It's about trusting yourself outside them.
And no one ever won a war by waiting it out in air-conditioned anxiety headquarters.
Maybe the real lesson of the Maginot Line isn't about France at all. It's that the stronger our defenses get, the less we notice the world changing around us. Safety feels good, right up until it becomes the reason you lose.
So maybe next time life hands you a blueprint for another wall, ask if you really need a door.
If you learned something today, good.
If it made you a little mad, even better. Means you were listening. This was Two Voices, One Brain.
where we laugh first, then pause. Now go check your Maginot Line, whatever shape it takes, and see what's waiting on the other side.